Death Valley was never silent, not truly. Even when the wind slept and the sun sank behind the blackened mountains, the land breathed. It exhaled heat trapped for centuries, whispered through cracked salt flats, and carried the memories of men who had come seeking fortune and never fully left. Ethan Calder felt the moment he crossed the park boundary. The car thermometer blinked 111 degrees Fahrenheit. Though the sun had already begun to set, the radio crackled with static, then died entirely, as if the valley had swallowed sound itself. Ethan shut it off and listened. Tires hummed on the asphalt. Wind dragged its fingers across the desert floor. Somewhere far away, metal clinked, faint but rhythmic, like a pickaxe striking stone. He shook his head and muttered, "Get a grip?" Ethan was a writer, a skeptic by profession, a ghost hunter by accident. He had built a modest following debunking haunted locations, exposing exaggeration, superstition, and clever tourism myths. Death Valley was supposed to be his final piece, the one that closed a chapter on paranormal nonsense forever. 2 locations, 2 legends: the Amargosa Opera House, the Furnace Creek Inn and Ranch Resort. He planned to spend one night at each, record audio, photograph everything, interview locals, then leave with proof that even the most infamous haunts were nothing more than stories dried in desert heat. Yet as the road narrowed and the sky bled orange into purple, unease settled into his chest. Death Valley Junction appeared suddenly, like a mirage that forgot to fade. Low buildings curved in a U-shape, their Spanish colonial arches casting long, skeletal shadows. The Amargosa Opera House stood at the center, its faded white walls cracked like old bone, its wooden doors darkened by decades of dust and touch. Ethan parked and stepped out. The heat hit him like a living thing, thick and suffocating, carrying a scent of rust, old wood, and something faintly sweet, like decay wrapped in perfume. "Mining town," he whispered. Nothing more. But the opera house windows stared back at him, unblinking, and for a moment he swore he saw movement behind the glass, a ripple of shadow that vanished when he blinked. The wind rose suddenly, howling through the arches. A door creaked open somewhere inside. Ethan grabbed his camera, heart quickening despite himself. The valley had noticed him, and it was awake. The Amargosa Opera House breathed like a living organism. Ethan pushed the door open and winced as it screamed on rusted hinges. Dust motes exploded into the air, spinning wildly in the beam of his flashlight. The interior was vast and hollow, the ceiling arching high above like the ribcage of something long dead. Rows of wooden seats faced the stage, their varnish cracked, their surfaces worn smooth by countless hands. The curtains hung tattered, stained with time, yet still proud, still guarding whatever memories clung behind them. "Hello," Ethan called. His voice came back to him wrong. Not an echo, but a delay, as if someone else had repeated his word a half-second later, softer, closer to the stage. "Hello," he swallowed. The mining days of the 1920s had turned this place into a beacon of life, music, laughter, and exhaustion. Men coated in borax dust had filled these seats, their lungs already failing, their futures uncertain. Women had danced on this stage, their smiles practiced, their eyes hollow. Dreams had been spent here, paid for in sweat and blood. And ghosts, people said, stayed behind. Ethan walked down the aisle, boots thudding loudly. With each step, the air grew colder, unnaturally so, raising goosebumps along his arms. He raised his camera and snapped a photo. The flash revealed something impossible. For just a fraction of a second, the seats were full. Men in worn suits, women in feathered headpieces, faces pale, eyes dark, mouths stretched into frozen smiles. Then darkness rushed back in. Ethan gasped and staggered, nearly dropping the camera. He checked the screen. Empty seats. Dust. Nothing else. "Stress," he whispered, though his voice shook. "Long drive." The stage curtains rustled. He froze. Slowly, deliberately, the curtains parted. No one stood there. Yet music filled the air, faint and distorted, as it played on instruments buried beneath sand. A piano out of tune. A violin, its strings whining like something in pain. Footsteps echoed, dozens of them, circling, pacing. Ethan backed away, heart pounding. A woman's laughter cut through the sound, sharp and brittle. Then a voice whispered directly into his ear. "You stayed too late." Ethan spun, flashlight sweeping wildly. Nothing. The laughter grew louder. The seats creaked as if occupied. Applause erupted suddenly, thunderous, overwhelming, hands slapping together in frantic rhythm. "Stop!" Ethan shouted. "This isn't real." The applause ceased instantly. Silence slammed down so hard it hurt his ears. A single spotlight flickered on above the stage. In its glow stood a miner, face blackened with dust, eyes sunken, jaw hanging at an unnatural angle. He raised a finger and pointed straight at Ethan. "Curtain call," the miner rasped. The lights exploded. Ethan ran. He burst out of the opera house into the desert night, gasping, drenched in sweat, heart hammering like it wanted to escape his chest. The building behind him stood silent once more, windows dark, doors closed. No applause, no music, just the wind. Ethan didn't look back as he drove away, but in his rear-view mirror, for one terrible moment, he saw a figure standing beneath the arches, watching him leave, waiting. The Furnace Creek Inn and Ranch Resort rose from the salt flats like an oasis carved from memory and denial. Mission-style walls glowed softly under floodlights, the building elegant, calm, welcoming. Palm trees swayed gently, their fronds whispering secrets to the night. Everything about it screamed comfort, safety, civilization. Ethan didn't believe it. He checked in just before midnight. The clerk smiled politely, eyes tired. "Long drive?" she asked. "You could say that," Ethan replied. Her smile faltered. "If you hear noises at night, don't worry. Old building." "Of course," Ethan said. She hesitated, then added quietly, "The kitchen's off limits after hours." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Why?" She leaned closer. "Chef Marquez doesn't like company." Before Ethan could ask more, she straightened and slid the key across the counter. Room 217. Sleep came poorly. The room smelled faintly of spices and something metallic. At 1:13 a.m., Ethan woke to the sound of footsteps in the hallway, heavy, purposeful. At 1:22, doors opened and closed, one after another, like someone checking every room. At 1:37, metal clanged. Ethan sat up, heart racing. At 1:40, the smell intensified, rich and savory, unmistakably food cooking. He grabbed his recorder and slipped into the hallway. The footsteps led downstairs. The kitchen door stood ajar. Warm light spilled out, flickering like candlelight. Inside, pots rattled, knives chopped rhythmically, and a low hum filled the air, tuneless but content. Ethan pushed the door open. The kitchen was alive. Ovens opened and closed. Pans slid across counters. Steam rose from boiling pots. Yet no one stood at the stove. Then a man appeared. Chef James Marquez wore a white coat stained with age, his hair slicked back, his face kind but weary. His eyes, however, were wrong, too deep, too dark, reflecting no light. "Late service," the chef said pleasantly. Ethan's mouth went dry. You're dead." Marquez chuckled. "Aren't we all eventually?" He moved through the kitchen with practiced ease, hands passing through solid objects as if they barely mattered. Doors slammed shut on their own. Utensils danced. "This is my kitchen," Marquez said softly. "I built it with love. I won't abandon it." "You should rest," Ethan whispered. Marquez's smile faded. "I tried," he said. "The valley wouldn't let me." The lights flickered violently. The temperature plummeted. The sound of cooking twisted into shrieks. Metal screeching against metal. "You don't belong here," Marquez hissed, his form blurring, stretching. Neither did they. Visions flooded the room. Miners collapsing from heat. Guests choking on unseen fumes. Faces screaming in the opera house. Death Valley fed on devotion. And it never let go. Marquez lunged. Ethan ran. The hallway stretched impossibly long as Ethan fled. Lights bursting one by one, plunging sections into darkness. Doors slammed shut ahead of him, trapping him inside the inn like prey. The walls bled heat and cold in waves. The air filled with whispers. Stay, work, perform. Ethan stumbled into the lobby. The front desk was empty. Outside, the desert wind howled like laughter. The opera house figures emerged from the shadows, miners and performers drifting through walls, eyes locked on him. Behind them, Marquez advanced, his chef's coat now soaked in darkness, his hands clawed, fingers twitching as if still chopping, still cooking. "You witnessed us," Marquez said. "That binds you." "I didn't agree to this," Ethan shouted. "No one ever does," the miner rasped. The ghosts closed in. Ethan grabbed the nearest object, a heavy brass bell from the desk, and hurled it through the front doors. Glass shattered. Cold night air rushed in. He ran into the salt flats. The ground crunched beneath his feet, glowing faintly under moonlight. The spirits followed, slower now, as if restrained by some unseen boundary. At the edge of the flats, Ethan collapsed, gasping. The ghost stopped. Marquez stepped forward alone. "This valley remembers those who love it," he said quietly, "and those who challenge it." "I'll tell people," Ethan said. "I'll warn them." Marquez tilted his head. "They won't listen." The chef stepped back, fading with the others into the darkness. Silence returned. The valley exhaled. Dawn crept over Death Valley like a reluctant witness. Ethan sat in his car, shaking, staring at the inn, now peaceful, beautiful, harmless. Tourists emerged with coffee cups, laughing, unaware of the night's horrors. His recordings were gone, his photos blank, except one, the opera house. The seats were full, and in the front row, staring directly at the camera, sat Ethan himself, eyes hollow, smiling. He deleted the file with trembling fingers. He drove away without checking out, yet the smell of spices followed him. The sound of applause haunted his dreams. Sometimes, late at night, he woke to the clatter of pots in his own kitchen, doors opening, doors closing, a domain being claimed. Years later, visitors to Death Valley still speak of strange things. Music echoing from an empty opera house, applause with no audience, a helpful ghost in the Furnace Creek kitchen, making sure everything runs smoothly. And sometimes late at night, a man is seen standing at the edge of the salt flats, staring toward the buildings, unable to leave. They say he was a writer once. They say the valley liked him. Death Valley remembers. And once it knows your name, it never forgets.